Hi, I'm Heidi Bragg, and welcome back to WEFTEC Live. Today I'm here with two of my friends, compatriots, partners in crime. I'm not sure exactly how to characterize it. I'd like them to introduce themselves, but I'll just tell you their names first. Shea Dunifon and Allison Fore. Shea, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hello, everyone. My name is Shea Dunifon. I am the chair for the Public Communications and Outreach Community. And what I do for a living, I'm a communicator. I do everything, right? But mostly I work with children, kindergarten through high school, and I'm educating them about wastewater processes and all the careers. And so, like I said, I work a lot with kids, but that's not all who I work with. And now I hand it over to Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Fore. I am the Public and Intergovernmental Affairs Officer for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. And I always have to take a deep breath before I say that because it's a mouthful. And I've worked at the MWRD for 12 years now. We have a staff of 14, and we run the gamut of our public education outreach, the tours of all of our facilities. Hopefully many of you have toured the Stickney plant or the Calumet plant. We do a lot of outreach to the communities, and I know that's one of the things we're going to talk about here today. I could go on, but I'll pass it on.
So in kind of setting the tone for what we wanted to talk about today, we called it group therapy for communicators, because if you work in communications in science and math-based organizations, you kind of become the catch-all often for anything that isn't strictly related to the engineering or the process of what goes on at that organization. So we talked about the fact that you need to be communicating with your customers and consumers and other constituents long before something goes wrong, because you've got to build up goodwill and good public capital before you're communicating, hey, we've had a breakdown in this, hey, something went wrong with this. So can you guys talk a little bit about how you do that outreach to the community?
Sure, I'll start. So, as I mentioned, I work mostly with kindergarten through 12th grade. We do facility tours. So I do work out of the South Cross Bayou Advanced Water Reclamation Facility. So there's my long one. So we give student tours. We bring them to the facility. We show them the processes. They get to meet the operators and all the people behind the scenes, which is also really important because our operators and our technicians behind the scenes often don't get enough attention. So we bring them there, and one of the first things I do is I introduce them to these individuals, and I say, please make sure you thank these people, because they are the ones who are making all this happen while you're sleeping and doing all those wonderful things and watching NFL and all that fun stuff, right? But really what I do by working with kindergarten through 12th grade is really I want to show them something that we don't think about every day. I want to show them career options. I want to get them excited about wastewater, which sounds crazy because wastewater is not sexy, right? It's kind of gross and ew. But it's really important to get a hold of the next generation, because one of the great things about working with the younger generation is they like to influence each other, and the little ones are really great about policing their parents. So I don't have to. So I would like to think it's a more proactive approach than, okay, we had a leak or we had a spill. I think people are more forgiving when they know who those people are who are responding than, okay, now who's going to clean up this mess? And I know Allison works on a different side of it, so I want to hand it to her, so you can add.
So here in Cook County, we have 5 million residents, an equivalent of 10 million people, including businesses. And when I was going to school to get my master's degree, there was one concept that we learned, is that you meet the person where they are. Start with where they are, and that means each person learns at a different pace, at a different level. So there's a lot of people who are not on computers. They're not on social media. So we have to think about those people and how are we going to reach them. So we have multiple ways of reaching people. I do a monthly newsletter. I started that during the pandemic that I email. And we have mailings. We actually do snail mail to people when it's an important message. Social media is big for us. We have people who are just interested in our historical photos from the 1890s. We have glass plate negatives, and we engage people with that. We share articles that are in the water sector on our social media pages, and we invite people in when we have negative news stories, or if we have negative questions coming from the media. We totally want them to come tour our facilities. Biosolids has been in the news a lot in the past few years. We come give them a tour of our drying beds and how the processes work. And we have a community advisory councils for each of our plant. We started with the Calumet plant on the south side of Chicago. We're going to be adding advisory council for each of our facilities and showing them everything that we do, giving them information about how to get a job at our facilities, how to reach us, what to do in case of flooding in your neighborhood. So we're constantly trying to reach people where they're at, and then hopefully they become our allies. So when a negative news story is being written, hopefully they'll reach out to those people, or we can recommend that those people reach out to the reporter to help share our positive story.
Well, and I think you'll recognize in your organization who those people are, who those technical experts are, who are also really good at explaining things at an understandable level for a layperson or for kids. And I think you work with those people and have them as the subject matter expert in a way that is accessible for the general public, because we don't always get information like that. We're trying to explain complex chemical and biological processes to people, and it goes. So find the people in your organization who are really gifted at that and use them to help tell your story.
So I have a little confession to make to that point. I'm not a communicator by education. I'm actually a chemist. So I went to school to study soils and chemistry because if any of you have ever seen me sitting in my office, it's all green behind me. I'm a plant person. I'm a plant geek. Not plant like treatment plant, which is really ironic. I'm a plant person in both ways, right? My whole life, my hobby has been horticulture, growing plants. That's my passion. So I went to school to study chemistry, and I never thought I would be in this industry. But when this job came up, I was working in horticulture with plants, and I thought, this is crazy. But when I started reading about the processes, it's the same science. So for instance, we use the nitrogen cycle to change the forms of nitrogen because we want to grow plants. We want them to be greener, have bigger flowers, have fruit. Well, in a wastewater treatment plant, it's the opposite side. We're just kind of turning the cycle the other way around, where we're trying to remove the nitrogen instead of changing the form. So it's really fascinating. So for me to walk in and be like, I get this, and then have to explain it to somebody, oh boy, that's sometimes that's fun, sometimes, but like Allison said, it's meeting people where they are. So for instance, in middle school, students might be learning the nitrogen cycle, as crazy as that sounds. So if they come to a facility and you're explaining to them that the goal is to take nitrogen out of the wastewater, and you're going through the nitrogen cycle, some of those students are going to say, oh, that's what I'm learning in school. Oh, okay. You're giving them this real life application. It doesn't sound like, okay, I'm sitting in this class, they're making me learn this cycle. What am I going to do with this for the rest of my life? Now, I can guarantee you maybe 90% of those students are never going to remember the nitrogen cycle when they graduate school, but at least they can see that real world application, and science isn't so abstract.
Well, and you're building a positive relationship with members of your community when they're young. And to your point earlier, if we want to get these people involved and improve the workforce issues our industry's facing, the more we can get young people interested, whether in the science or the process or whatever behind it, the better chance we have of capturing them later on when they're figuring out what they want to do for a career.
100%, absolutely.
At our community outreach engagement events, we try and do different activities as opposed to just handing out a flyer, handing out a booklet. We do have a great book called Where Does It Go? And it's animated. It's on our website. That's great, but getting them involved in an actual activity. And I just came from a learning exchange, and our table was about artificial intelligence. And if you haven't tried it yet, I strongly recommend it. It's free, it's easy. I typed in create a science activity for ages 7 through 14, not near a body of water. And then you could change the prompt. It's all about the prompt. It spits out a whole list of activities you can do for children or for adults. So if you want to ask me about ChatGPT, I love talking about it because it's the best thing since water. and the reason I got involved is because my boss said, you need to learn what this is. And I said, oh, no, we can't do that. It's stealing, it's plagiarizing. He said, no, it's not. And the point is, you can't just take it. If you have a blank piece of paper, you need to write talking points, or a policy paper, you have to write something. It gives you somewhere to start. So I'm so excited about it, and I love telling other people about it, and I don't make any money from it, but it's just a really useful tool. Make this sentence better. Make this social media post lively. Just make this better is the one I use the most, because we're great writers in our department, but who has time to do all of this all at the same time? So that's my plug for the day.
Well, and I think, like we talked about before, and we talk about all the time, you're expected to do a whole lot of different things in communications, and maybe you're great at social media, but you're not great at public speaking or whatever, and you're being asked to do a lot of different things. One thing I like about our public Communications and Outreach Committee, PCOC, community, sorry, still doing that, it's community, is that you get different ideas in our monthly meetings from everybody about what's working for them, about brainstorming what we need to do for future activities. So that's a really good resource. And I would encourage you, if you're a communicator and you're not a WEF member, or you're a WEF member who has not yet joined PCOC, we can get you connected with Shea and Allison, because it's an excellent resource and a place to commiserate, to be honest, too. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up?
We'll see you all in New Orleans next year, and you'll all use ChatGPT by then.
Allison's taking a poll. Thanks, you guys, for your support and the work we do behind the scenes, and also for being here today. I really appreciate it. Join us later for more WEFTEC Live. Thanks.